Shalom, shalom. This week, we'll read the new פרשת, כי-תצא. And the parsha starts with the beautiful words, כי-תצא למלחמה על אויביך, ונתנו השם אלו-קיך בדרך. Those words kind of repeat. We heard those words. We have a feeling of deja vu from last week, from פרשת שופטים, when it says, כי-תצא למלחמה על אויביך, וראית סוס ורכב, עם רב ממך, לא תירא מהם. What is the difference between the כי-תצא למלחמה of פרשת שופטים to כי-תצא in our parasha, פרשת כי-תצא? All the מפרשים share the same answer. They said, the pasuk כי-תצא למלחמה על אויביך in פרשת שופטים that we read last week explains that this is מלחמת מצווה. It's a war that we have to go for it. For example, in the days of Yoshua bin Nun, when Yoshua conquered Eretz Israel, all those milchamot were milchamot chova, that we must go for it. And those are milchemet mitzvah. So it is such a big mitzvah to go to that kind of war that even chatan michadro yotze, bekala michupata. Even a couple that is getting married needs to leave the chuppah, and the chatan must go to the war. The Gemara in Masechet Sotah explained to us. But in our parsha, parashat כי-תצא, כי-תצא למלחמה על אויביך, this is not milchemet mitzvah. This is actually milchemet reshut. We don't have to do it. For example, the Sforno is giving us an example. If we would like to expand the borders of Israel, then that will be milchemet reshut. And because it's milchemet reshut and not milchemet mitzvah, if someone built a new house, he can choose to stay home. If someone just got married, he can choose to stay home and not to go to this war. In the latest operation, Kalavi, we know that Israel fought Iran for 12 days and destroyed them. But one of the stories that really came out a few days later was about a young pilot. That operation started on the night of June 12. It was Thursday night. And that night, June 12, was also the night that was the chuppah day of a young pilot, who was also a former student of Yeshivat Sderot. The young pilot, or the young chatan, felt a few hours before his wedding that something is happening and he knows nothing about it. He noticed that about 60 of his friends from the Air Force unit canceled their arrival. Right away, he called his commander and he asked a very special question. 3 words, להתחתן או לטוס? In a different words, the chatan asked his commander, what do you want me to do? Should I get married? Or should I come to fly because something is happening? And the commander said 2 words, תתחתן ותתקשר. Go get married and then call me after the chuppah. Right away, the young pilot went to the chuppah, and when the chuppah was ended, he took his newly wife and left his own wedding. He sent a message to his friend, and he asked his friend to read it to the rest of the guests later on when the operation started. He said, and this is a translation from Hebrew, he says, today we are going to fulfill a mission of milchemet mitzvah. A groom from his chamber and a bride from her chuppah needs to come out. I am taking my newly wife to her parents' home and heading to the Air Force base. We are very happy that this is how the building of our shared home begins, and may we will be zoche to add strength, courage, and holiness to our people. And that's really a big question that one of his rabbis from Yeshivat Sderot asked. Where does chatan get his strength? Where does he get the energy and the courage to leave his own wedding, and he was willing to leave it even before the chuppah? Where does he get the courage in order to leave his own chuppah in order to go and get married and go flight? Rashi says a beautiful things. on the words Hen Am Kalavi Yakum, which is the name of that operation, Am Kalavi, a nation as a lion. He says, Hen Omdim Mishnatam Shacharit, מתגברים כלבי וכארי, לחטוף את המצוות, ללבוש ציצית, לקרוא את השמה, להניח תפילין. In a different words, Rashi comes to say, well, you want to know where the courage comes from? From all those small things that this young Chatan, this young pilot, is doing every day. To wear tzitzit, to read Shema every day, to put the tefillin every day. Those small mitzvot that we do every day, that's where this Chatan, this pilot, got his courage from. But that is Parashat Shoftim. In our parsha, it's not about milchemet mitzvah. It's about milchemet reshut. It's a war that the goal is only to expand the territory, the borders of Eretz Israel. But the truth is that there is one more difference that I did not mention so far, and that is the words כי-תצא למלחמה על אויביך. There is one more letter that is added in our parsha, and it's not in Parashat Shoftim. One letter, and that is Yud. The way that the Torah spells אויביך is Aleph Yud Vet, Yud Chaf Sofit. That makes the word plural. כי-תצא למלחמה על אויביך. הכלי-יקר says, well, this Yud comes to say this is לשון רבים. You won't have one enemy. You will have two enemies. And if I'll read the words, ועל כן כשאמר, כי-תצא למלחמה על אויביך, לשון רבים. ודאי כלל בזה שני מיני אויבים. הן אויב חיצוני, הן אויב פנימי, המקטרג בשעת סכנה. The כלי-יקר comes to explain. You will have two enemies when we talk about מלחמת רשות. One is the external enemy, the one that comes to fight you. But then there is another one. There is אויב פנימי. It's an internal enemy that comes and מקטרג בשעת סכנה. That in a time of danger, he tries to take over and take you away from that mitzvah. הכלי-יקר also explained that in the internal enemy is the יצר הרע. And that's why right after כי-תצא למלחמה על אויביך comes the first example. אישה יפת תואר. What a soldier needs to do if it's מלחמת רשות and he sees a beautiful, gorgeous woman, but she's not a Jew. She's actually from the enemy. And then really the Torah starts to give a list of 74 mitzvot. And one thing that I noticed, Parashat כי-תצא is the champion of the Torah. It has the most mitzvot in the whole Torah, 74 mitzvot. But all those mitzvot that is given in this week's parsha, there is one thing that we can see that ties up all those mitzvot. And that is the fact that those mitzvot comes to fix relationship between ben Adam lechavero. For example, ben soreh umoreh. It's a mitzvah that comes to explain how to fix relationship between family members. Yerusha shel haben. What happens? Who needs to get the Yerusha? The ben abechor, the oldest son. Divorce is another one. There are many mitzvot in our parsha that comes to fix the relationships between family members. But not only that, then we have another set of mitzvot that is come to fix friendship and neighborhood, different neighbors. For example, לשון הרע. Another example, hashavat aveda. Those are examples for mitzvot that we got in this week's parsha, and it comes to fix the relationship between friends and family. But then, when we get to the end of the parsha, on Shabbat, when the Chazan will read all the 74 mitzvot, and he will be towards the end, he will come to Maftir, then the Chazan will read 3 psukim that looks very disconnected from the list of the mitzvot that we got in the parsha. And what is the 3 psukim? זכור את אשר עשה לך עמלק בדרך בצאתכם מארץ מצרים. It's 3 psukim that the Sefer HaChinuch explained. Well, here, Amalek is not one mitzvah. Amalek is actually 3 mitzvot. There is a mitzvah to remember, לזכור את מה שעשה עמלק לישראל. 2, to destroy, to eliminate the descendants of Amalek, מצווה להכרית זרעו של עמלק. And number 3, not to forget what Amalek did. We should not forget, שלא נשכח מעשה עמלק בצאתם ממצרים. And it really looks like those 3 psukim, and also those 3 mitzvot that is really and there is what's similar in all of them is the Amalek. They look disconnected. And the חיצוני comes, and the חיצוני wants to show us the connection. What is the connection? In order to answer that question, you have to go back to when Amalek came to fight with Bnei Israel. And for that, we'll have to go back to שמות, פרשת, שופטים. And the whole story comes in a few words. ויבוא עמלק, וילחם in Israel ברפידים. If we will look at the big picture, Bnei Israel were after 400, depends which opinion you get, which perush, around 430 years of slavery. They were broken. They were tired. They came out of Mitzrayim. They crossed Kiryat Yam Suf. They crossed Yam Suf. And then at that point, Amalek comes. The Torah says, ואתה עייף, ויגע, ולא ירא אלוקים. The Torah comes and says, well, Am Yisrael didn't even get the Torah when Amalek came to fight with Am Yisrael. Even before we had the Torah, they came to fight us. So Rashi says, well, you know why Amalek is coming? Amalek is coming when ולא ירא אלוקים. When you don't respect the Torah, when you don't do what you need to do. And those are the mitzvot that you need to be focused on. The one that is between בין אדם לחברו. When you don't do that, that is the time when Amalek comes. And in the Rashi words it says, אם שיקרת במידות ובמשקולות, הווה דואג מגירוי האויב. That means that Rashi teaches that if people cheat in their business using false weights or measures, they are not just being dishonest. This kind of behavior breaks trust in the community and weakens society. A community where people lie or cheat is more valuable, even to its enemies. Being fair and honest in everyday life actually helps to protect everyone. And I tried to find a story that comes to represent it. And I found one, an amazing one. It's a story from 1940. In 1940, the Nazis came to France and started to fight with them in World War II. There was a small village, Chambon Sur Lingon, very small village, that saw what's happening. And the priest of that village stood up and said to his community, well, we have a community right here in our town, and we trust them because for years we negotiated with them, we did business with them, and they always were honest, and that's why we have a good relationship with them. Then the priest said, well, now it's our job to protect them. And if we will not do it, he says, we'll have to kneel, we'll have to go down, and we'll have to ask for forgiveness for not doing it. So this is our moment to come and help them. And in 1940, right away, he gathered all his community and they started to protect families, Jewish families, during the Holocaust. And every time that a Nazi came and searched the farms or the village, he found nothing. What was his system? What was this priest system? How was able to get everything done? He said, all the families that needs to be rescued will go to a farms. They will work in the farm, and when when they will have a danger, they will be able to hide either in the fields or in the basement. But then, with time, a lot of the Jewish people in France heard about that precious village that helps to save people. So a lot of people started to come. A lot of children, unfortunately, came. So the priest called his cousin and told him, I need your help. Come help me. The priest's cousin came, and together they built up a school for Jewish kids, only Jewish kids. But then they didn't know how to handle those Jewish kids. They didn't want to make them Christians. That wasn't their goal. So they connected someone in Eretz Israel named Yoni Spiegel, who came to France, to that village, and helped the cousin to run some kind of a daycare / school for the Jewish kids that they tried to rescue. Unfortunately, in 1942, the Nazis came and found out about the school, and Yoni decided to go with the children, and unfortunately they died. The cousin didn't want to leave them alone, so he went also, and unfortunately, those kids died. There is one more group of Jewish people that were saved, and that is young adults and singles that heard about this special village, and they came, and the priest advised them and helped them to cross the border and to go to Eretz Israel. Yad Vashem don't have the real numbers, but they estimated as 5,000 Jews. This village was able to save 5,000 Jewish people, all because the good relationship that they had with the Jews before the war started. It's a precious story because Yad Vashem recognized that village as a village of the whole village. Not only the members, but the whole village is Chasidei Umot Ha'olam. Only two villages in France got that title, and that is one of them. So with that story, I hope that we will learn that the repetition of the Jewish people and the integrity can help to save thousands of Jews around the world. So maybe we'll be zoche to continue and do those mitzvot, to work on our midot in order to protect Am Israel. Shabbat Shalom.